The current Washington Nationals franchise has only been around since 2005, but there's been quite a number of baseball teams who've represented Washington, D.C. over the years. There was even a time not too long ago where the Nationals came extremely close to not even existing at all. This is a super quick history of the Washington Nationals. Before we get started, I just want to say welcome to All Sports History. This is a channel where you'll find many sports documentaries on sports leagues like the NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, and much more. So please consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell if you don't want to miss any of those. Okay, let's get back to today's video. Between the 1870s and 90s, there were at least 9 different professional baseball teams in Washington that were named some variation of the Nationals, the Senators, or the Statesmen. The early years of the 20th century were full of ups and downs for baseball in Washington, D.C. The team fielded eventual future Hall of Famers like Walter Johnson, Bucky Harris, and Sam Rice. However, the Senators were mostly remembered for being pretty much terrible year in and year out. A popular saying at the time was that Washington was first in war, first in peace, last in the American League. However, their luck would change in 1924 when the Senators beat the heavily favored New York Giants. And this would be their first and only championship while playing in Washington, D.C. Throughout the 1930s, 40s, and 50s, the Senators went back to playing terrible baseball and were routinely in last place. Making matters worse, the St. Louis Browns Baseball Club moved to Baltimore in 1954, becoming the Baltimore Orioles, thus creating increased local competition for fans. After years of frustration and seeing successful relocations of other MLB teams, the Senators decided to relocate to Minneapolis in 1961 to become the Twins. Despite the name change, the team still officially held on to its Senators past, including that 1924 World Series win. But all was not lost, because in that same year, Major League Baseball expanded and added a new team in Washington that would also be named the Senators. Unfortunately, this new Senators team played pretty much like the old Senators team. Their only winning season came in 1969. What led to the turnaround was the hiring of baseball great and Boston Red Sox legend Ted Williams as the Senators' new manager. Williams, known for his incredible hitting ability, brought his hitting fundamentals to the team and helped the Senators win 21 more games that season than they did the year prior. The Senators went from last place to a division-contending team in one season, and Ted Williams was named the American League Manager of the Year for 1969. However, the success was short-lived, as the team finished in last place in 1970 with only 70 wins, and second to last place in 1971 with 63 wins. Years of mismanagement by multiple ownerships created a situation where, by 1970, the Senators were in financial trouble. In 1971, the Senators' owner, Bob Short, seen here sitting next to Richard Nixon, and no, I'm not talking about the child, made a deal to move the team to Dallas, Texas for the 1972 season. The team would change its name to the Texas Rangers, but like the Twins before them, would keep all of its Senators history. During the final home game in Washington, the Senators were playing the Yankees and had a 7-5 lead in the 9th inning with only one out left. Some upset fans, knowing the team would be moving away the next year, stormed the field and refused to leave. Even though the Senators held a lead over the Yankees, the umpires had no choice but to cancel the game, forfeiting it in favor of the Yankees. In 1973, the San Diego Padres were granted permission to relocate to Washington, D.C. However, prior to that decision, the Padres were sold to Ray Kroc, one of the founders of McDonald's, and he elected to stay in San Diego. By the early 1990s, Major League Baseball was looking to expand, and Washington, D.C. was under consideration as a possible expansion city. Unfortunately for D.C., 4 other cities offered more attractive bids and were awarded franchises. Those cities were Denver, Miami, Phoenix, and Tampa Bay. You might be asking, what's with all the purple and teal? It was the 90s, okay? No one could resist the powerful color combination of purple and teal, not even Major League Baseball. So, you had your chance, Washington. By 2001, Major League Baseball had some large problems on its hands. Small market teams struggled to keep up financially with large market teams. There was competitive imbalance on the field and off the field. MLB looked to shed the league of faltering franchises, so the owners opted to contract the league by folding 2 teams, the Minnesota Twins and the Montreal Expos. Reason being, both teams had for many seasons failed to generate enough revenue while also failing to secure funds for building a new stadium in their city. Thankfully for the two teams, the contraction plan was thwarted by the Twins' obligation to fulfill its lease with the Metrodome going through the 2002 season. During this time, the Expos were bought out by Major League Baseball from its controversial owner, Jeffrey Loria. It would only take another 15 years for Major League Baseball to finally rid itself of Jeffrey Loria, but that's another video for another time. Because the contraction had stalled, MLB was forced to keep the Twins and Expos for the 2002 season. Also, the new agreement between the Players Association and Major League Baseball forbid any contractions until after the 2006 season. Had the contractions taken place and the Twins and Expos been folded, this probably would have ended the chance for the Nationals to come back into existence for some time, while simultaneously erasing part of Washington, D.C.'s baseball past with the Minnesota Twins. Now that MLB owned the Expos franchise, they looked for relocation sites that would best suit the club. Some of those cities considered were Oklahoma City, San Juan, Puerto Rico, Monterrey, Mexico, Portland, Oregon, the Northern Virginia area, Las Vegas, Nevada, and Charlotte, North Carolina. But to Washington, D.C.'s luck, MLB chose D.C. as its favored relocation city, and on September 29, 2004, made the official announcement of relocation to D.C. When deciding on a new team name, local politicians objected to the use of the name Senators because the District of Columbia does not have voting representation in Congress. Also, it didn't help that the Texas Rangers still own the name Senators, so the former Expos club settled on the Nationals as their new team name. After officially becoming the Washington Nationals, the team adopted similar colors as the late 1960s Senators while also adding gold accents. The team played at RFK Stadium until a new stadium could be built. In 2008, the Nationals opened up their brand new stadium, Nationals Park, and the first game would end with the Nationals beating the Braves 3-2 thanks to Ryan Zimmerman's walk-off home run. Early on, the Nationals routinely fielded one of the worst teams in the league. This included back-to-back 100-loss seasons in 2008 and 2009. However, starting in the 2010s, the Nationals' luck would change. In 2010, the Nationals drafted Bryce Harper, the number 1 overall pick, and he made his major league debut in 2012. That same year, the team made the postseason for the first time, ending a 79-year drought of playoff baseball in Washington, D.C. Harper would go on to win Rookie of the Year in 2012 and the National League MVP in 2015. He quickly became the face of the Nationals organization, with high hopes that he'd help bring a championship back to D.C. Those hopes were crushed, however, when in 2019, Harper signed a $330 million contract with the Nationals' rivals, the Philadelphia Phillies. Without their star player, the team began the 2019 season with a 19-31 record, bringing their chances of winning the World Series to just 1%. However, with the help of improved team play and some baby sharks, they managed to turn around their record and finished the season with 93 wins. They clinched a wildcard spot in the playoffs and eventually advanced to their first World Series appearance after sweeping the St. Louis Cardinals. In the World Series, the Nationals jumped out to an early series lead by winning the first 2 games. However, they only managed to score 1 run in each of the next 3 games, allowing the Houston Astros to take a 3-2 series lead. In Game 6, the Nationals bounced back and handedly beat the Astros 7-2, forcing a pivotal Game 7. In the 7th game, Houston took an early lead with 2 runs scored during the first 5 innings. In the 7th inning, the Nationals came up with 2 clutch key hits by Anthony Rendon and Howie Kendrick, scoring 3 runs and taking a 3-2 lead. The Nationals continued to score runs in the 8th and 9th inning, padding their lead and winning the game 6-2. This would end a 95-year drought by bringing a World Series title back to D.C. for the first time since 1924.
And that's what it's all about. That's what I want to do. We want to bring a title back to D.C. I want to be on Broad Street on a freaking boat or whatever.
And a World Series Game 7 winning Curly W is in the books.
Don't worry, Bryce. There's always next year. Well, that's if there's a next year. So that about wraps up a super quick history of the Washington Nationals. What did you guys think about the Nationals winning the World Series without Bryce Harper? Let me know in the comments below. And while you're there, let me know what other sports history topics you'd like to see covered in future videos. If you've enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and feel free to share with anyone else who might also enjoy it. For more sports history, check out my website at allsportshistory.com and my social media pages, which I've posted the links down below. And thanks for watching!